we are live. It says, Brad. We're live on Facebook. We're live on LinkedIn. We're live on YouTube. I don't know why I keep going live on Facebook because they don't show any love. But I've tried Twitter a few times. You know, this StreamYard thing only lets you do like 3.
Right.
And if I do Instagram, it's usually when I'm solo. So I'll do like my phone. And then now TikTok lets me live stream. So I have like my secondary phone for TikTok. But I just wish they were all here. You know why? Because I can't live stream this on Instagram or TikTok because they won't hear you. And what the hell purpose is that? Like just hearing my half of the conversation.
Right. I've never even looked at TikTok like in my entire life. So
Brad.
I'm probably missing out, but I've literally
Yes,
never.
man.
I don't think I've ever seen anything on TikTok. I've never like seen the platform. So I feel
There's
like an old
enough
man.
sites on there. There's enough. You're gonna get like I don't know so much about site owners. They're out there, but people who work at sites, and you're gonna get CRAs on there too because they like to mess around just like everyone else.
Sure.
So and it's dude, that place is growing like big time. I'm really impressed with TikTok, like how the growth and the reach and the people that have never heard of me from other places, like they just find me there. It's amazing. Amazing, man.
That is crazy. Yeah. No, I know it's a big deal. I just, I'm frankly, I'm lazy. There's only so many hours in the day. I just,
But let's start this one. Look, we only got 45 minutes before we go live on yours. I'm going to switch to go inside after that because it's going to start getting hot. And the mister's going to get annoying after a while. But we're going to get to know Brad, the person. Because everybody knows Brad from Hightower Research, right? Or Hightower Clinical.
Hightower Clinical, yeah.
By the way, okay, for the when we go live on with you, I'm gonna put the shoe somewhere in the background. So that's
Nice.
that's important. Okay, Brad. Everybody knows you on LinkedIn for keeping it real and being authentic and just ranting. I find it hilarious, man. I've just like randomly go on TikTok to post one of my videos, and I see Brad with a rant. And then like 800 comments. I'm like, holy crap! There's an appetite for this. And then we can discuss a lot of things about your business, but I feel like one thing that's missing, and I'm personally curious about, is like who's Brad the person. And you were telling me you grew up in a small town in Oklahoma, and you were all state in baseball. Is that right?
I was, yeah. I was played a lot of baseball growing up, traveling all over the country, playing AAU ball and things like that. But yeah, I grew up in a very small town. I think I graduated high school with like 90 or 100 kids.
Wow.
I was the first in my family to go to college.
Where'd you go? Where'd you go to college?
I went to the University of Oklahoma.
Okay.
That was like the big city, right, compared to where I grew up. And I dropped out after a year and a half, and joined a band and moved
Joined
to
a
Austin.
band?
Yeah. I was I've always loved music and played guitar, and I was really into punk rock and stuff like that. So I
Wow.
moved to Austin and basically lived in like a 2-bedroom apartment with like 5 dudes, right? So we were just there to play music, and ended up just kind of DIY touring up and down the West Coast for a couple of
Really?
years. And
So
then we
you have
actually,
fans like before LinkedIn.
yeah, I don't know, but fans might be a bit of a stretch, but those were back in the MySpace days when, we booked like our whole tour through MySpace, which is kind of
Wow.
hilarious to think about.
Dude, you
Think
gotta
about
make
now.
like an intro to Note to File, like your best song. Were you singer or you just play guitar?
I could, I cannot sing worth a
Okay,
damn.
okay.
I don't know. I just didn't get that. I was always a good guitar guy though.
Man, you gotta like break out some of those like old songs, like once in a while. You have to. People,
I don't know how much mass appeal it would have to people in the research industry, but I'm sure it's a more
it would
maybe there's some
appeal.
more diverse musical taste than what I assume.
It would appeal to me. So, anyways, like I was always curious about like your background, and all that. So you dropped out. You did the band, toured up and down the West Coast,
Yeah, I
and then
actually ended up living in Seattle for another year and a half or so. Before things kind of burnt out. Was getting older. You know, wasn't really going anywhere. It was pretty clear, you know. So I decided to move back. My wife is from Oklahoma City area, so we moved
Hmm.
back there. And actually, I went to work at a phlebotomy center, or I'm sorry, a plasma center as a phlebotomist.
Oh, you were a
And
phlebotomist. Okay, okay.
yeah, I was the phlebotomist.
Wow.
We had a computer that tracked like our sticks, and I think I was up like over 20,000 sticks like before I left there. So I could pretty much draw blood in my sleep right now.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so because I've never been formally trained, but I draw blood on patients every now and then, like mainly when our CNAs are not there. And our new coordinator, Katie, shout out to her. We'll talk more about them in your video. We're gonna go live on Brad's channel right after this. But I do blood draws like every now and then, but I can't. I can only use butterfly needle, and I
Yeah,
can only do it like if I examine the vein for like 5 minutes. Otherwise, I won't try. Like I have to feel it, I have to see it, and I just want to poke once. If I miss, then I'm done.
yeah. It's like I mean, I still tell people it's like more of an art than a science. But so I mean, we always buy butterflies. I don't ever use those crappy ones that come with the kits. Those are terrible.
Those suck.
You have no room to like move around or any room for error. You can't even tell if you get a
Yeah, you
flash,
can
you
tell
know?
if you get a
Right.
stick. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are terrible. I never use those. But I bought some of our newer phlebotomists one of the little lights, you know, that you can stick on
Yeah,
the
one of my
skin, and
doctor in San Bernardino showed me that, man. He's like he draws the blood himself over there and he was showing me that. I was like, this is so cool.
yeah, it's not bad. I mean, you know, I still go old school. If I need to be able to feel it, like versus see it. I got to feel that bounce in the antecubital area there. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's. But anyways, yeah, I did that for a while, and then my sister-in-law worked at the university, their health sciences center, as a research assistant for a neurology department, and she was like, "Hey, you know, you want to be interested in, you know, interviewing or applying for the job?" And I had no idea what it was, but I knew in my job I had to consent people. I had to draw their blood, so I had some sort of, you know, basic documentation skills and I guess a little bit of clinical skill there. So I got hired in as a research assistant for like, you know, 20 grand a year or something like that. Started from the bottom, and I hadn't finished my degree yet, which was, you know, problematic for a academic institution. I mean, that's what got me into the field.
I see.
You know, so it was sort of a, again, just an accident, really.
And then like what okay, so you start yeah, like most people. And then how did you what year was this? Like when you
I want
first
to say
got
it
in?
was 2008, 2008, 2009.
Okay. And then you started Hightower Clinical when?
I believe I broke out 2018. So yeah, it was a solid 10 years.
10 years in. Like so in that 10 years, what were you doing? I imagine you did coordinating at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I basically started out, you know, as pretty much a low-level assistant, but basically doing a coordinator's job. So at that time, the setup there was the coordinators did it all. I mean, they couldn't sign a contract, but they really did, you know, the budget negotiation before it got sent up the chain. You know, created all the source, did all the data entry. It wasn't structured out in a, you know, very specific way. So everybody kind of did everything, which, you know, ultimately I think was a good thing. It was frankly really poorly organized. So I mean, nobody wanted to really like train you. There wasn't any formal training. It was sort of like, hey, good luck. If you can stick it out, you know, if you can stick it out, you might get somewhere. But if not, then, you know, oh well.
Yeah. I think there's some value there though, because I was the same happened to me more or less. Like my first day, they told me to build a cabinet from Lowe's for a drug, and then to go buy dry ice, and then read a protocol. So they just put me in a room with a protocol, and I just read it the whole day. I'm like, all right, this is interesting. But you know, now when I have employees, I train them, and we could talk about that on your live. But I actually think that there is some value in making someone do that, mainly to see if they stick around.
Well, it's weird, and I feel very mixed. I have mixed feelings because on the one hand, I would like to see more formalized training for clinical research coordinators. But to your point, I think that it almost seems like uniquely difficult to like just train someone. They just have to live through it, right? They have to sort of see it, do it. It takes time to really be exposed, I think, to the sort of breadth of stuff that comes up as a research coordinator. And, it's like reading a protocol, right? You get a protocol. If you read it front to end, I'm not going to remember it. I'm going to have to wait till the study starts and start doing the study. You love to read protocols, you. I mean,
Nada says she likes to
you.
read protocols.
Good for you, Nada.
Nada, you're not human. I don't know what, like you're an AI or something. You're a bot. Elon Musk was right. There's bots. Social media is full of bots. I'm kidding. There's protocols. Some people like it. I never did. Lately, I started getting into investigator brochures because something like has been tickling my hard science funny bone these last few years. I think COVID had a lot to do with it. But all right, so you put in a decade there, and what made you think like I'm gonna start my own? Like, what was it? Was it the money? Did you get around to seeing some budgets, or were you always an entrepreneur? What makes somebody do that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there was a couple of different things. One, so I did leave the university and worked for a hospital who had a spin-off nonprofit, basically, who managed the research for the hospital. So I thought, like, oh, great, this is going to be so much better. Don't have to use a local IRB. But it still was just run terribly. And it was so frustrating to me to be working within these institutions where, like, nobody really gave a crap about clinical research. They tended to always be the last thing anyone cared about. It was bottom priority.
Yeah.
And all the while, I was, talking to other doctors in the community who were like, yeah, I'd love to participate in research. I'd love to bring in some revenue. I'd love to try out new stuff. So I was like, okay, well, the places where research is happening, nobody gives a shit about it. And the people who really want to do research don't have the ability or the resources to do it. So it really kind of became to go back to punk rock days. It was like stick it to the man and go like set up these more independent sites that can compete and even out enroll these big centers. So I really just felt like, again, it was a missed opportunity. I mean, it occurred to me that there's some money in it, but look, if I wanted to make money, I'd probably be doing something different than running sites,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think and we can get into a whole bunch of stuff because I know you and I both love decentralized trials. And Nelson put a link. I can't click it, Nelson, but I know what this is about. Science 37, whatever they're called. The one that Brad is out enrolling, by the way, in a study. Let me point that out.
Thank you.
Not immune to broader wave of biotech layoffs. Yeah, no shit, guys. If you're not actually making money, you're not going to survive when the economy turns a little sour. And in our industry, it's not sour. But VC is drying up. You got to be profitable. So, okay. And some of this I want to save for your stream too, but
sure. It
resonates with me what you said, because the problem with research, I still see this as a problem. You've got the academic medical centers and the hospital systems. I lump them into one group because they're large bureaucracies and they can do it. And there's a lot of benefit. Look, we bash the AMCs all the time. There's a lot of value in using an AMC. Number one, the key opinion leader. But number two, everything is in-house. So, for all these studies, you need, you need an X-ray for this, you need an MRI for this, you need a colonoscopy for this, you need God knows what else. You need something for every study. Mom and pop sites don't really have that, unless they're, the specialist for that. But even then, you need things that are not in your specialty, usually. So AMCs are the perfect place for this. Problem with AMCs is there's no incentives there. Only the KOL, they're only incentives. Okay, let me publish and this and that. The coordinators have no incentive. Usually they use residents, basically slave labor to work as coordinator, and then they can't wait till they leave. So, and not to mention local IRBs and all that stuff. And then you got these small mom and pop sites, and the clinicians, most of them are short-sighted. They're just doers. I'm going to do this action and make this money, and that's repeatable. And usually it just means volume. And
Right.
I remember my PI, him and a physician assistant own Yuma's largest practice. And the PA, the physician assistant partner, she told me, Dan, all I care about is revenue per square foot. And I've never heard this metric before in a healthcare setting.
No,
But
I don't think I've heard that.
she's thinking, I'm going to give you a room. I've never measured my room. I don't know how many square feet it is. If I put a provider in there, that provider, I'm going to pay them X dollars a year. That provider is going to generate me this much because I already have the patients to send them there. So
Sure.
you got to make me more than that. And I'm thinking to myself, you have no idea what these budgets look like for just one patient that we randomize. All right.
Right.
So this is the problem between AMC and small mom and pop. Neither can truly get the job done on their own. It's always going to require someone like Brad Hightower to come in and connect the dots. So that's kind of what you're doing, and I guess it sounds like the mission for what Hightower Clinical.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we've kind of found the interesting middle ground, and we're partnered with a hospital system now. So we actually do have a clinic, nice clinic space there, and access to everything in house. And since we have a vendor relationship, we don't kind of fall victim to some of the problems that AMCs do. Like, we can work with the doctors who want to do the trials. They're there. They do have both financial incentive as well as, key opinion leader incentive, if you will, or cutting edge technology incentive, whatever you want to call it. But we don't have to work within a local IRB. We can negotiate the budgets on our own behalf. It doesn't have to go through layers and layers like it may in some academic institutions. So we kind of get the best of both worlds in partnerships like that. So I'm curious to see if that becomes more popular, where instead of these institutions trying to like internalize it, they just partner with a vendor who can do it way faster, way better, and with more, I guess, aligned incentives, for lack of a better phrase. I mean, I feel like that's maybe the sweet spot on top of the independent relationships that private practices.
Yeah. I mean, or you can just look at decentralized trial startups and prove they're not immune to a broader wave of biotech layoffs. So, like, what you and I both talk about this a lot. DCT. I mean, certainly elements of that, elements of remote monitoring. It's already here.
Sure.
But to say that that's the end all be all, I mean, to me, it's like sponsors are looking at these companies to save them from sites overestimating their capabilities, particularly when it comes to recruitment. But I don't see how these. I mean, you've competed against like Sciences 37, right? And they do enroll a good amount of patients. Like, you were top
For
enroller
sure.
and they were number 2, right? What do you think, like, companies like that, and not to just pick on them, but like all of them, what are their weaknesses in your opinion?
I mean, again, it's first of all, I think it's not real clear how some of these companies even are operating. Like, to me, or like how they're doing things. So, I mean, the obvious one right off the bat that you surely relate to is like, we are human beings, in front of other human beings, oftentimes sort of nurtured through a physician relationship. So, I mean, I think there's already, that human component that you may not get if you're responding to an ad on Reddit, for lung cancer screening or whatever the case may be. So, I mean, I feel like that's challenging. But if I'm somebody like, Science 37, then, I mean, how are you getting to all these disparate medical records in a timely manner? Or like, it seems it's hard enough, like when you're on site trying to get medical records for the patient in front of you. Like, that seems like an interesting challenge. I don't know. I'm sure they have it figured out. They have tens of millions of dollars, apparently.
They've got algorithms. You know what an algorithm can't solve? You forget to put a sticker on a urine tube when there's like 3 urine tubes. For some reason, there's 3 urine tubes in this lab kit amongst
Right.
blood. And you got to put stickers on all of them. My coordinator asked me, we were busy the other day. She's like, hey, I put stickers on 2. Should I put on the 3rd? I'm like, if you already package it, just send it. Well, sure enough, they don't want to read it. They don't want to analyze it. The patient's got to come in, give another urine sample, and we had to convince the patient, like, hey, you know what? We made a mistake. Like, we didn't put a sticker on your urine. Can you come back? We'll give you extra stipend for coming in.
Right.
I don't see like how AI is going to do this. Like, unless you go to the patient's house, but we can do that too. We can also
Yeah.
go to the patient's house.
Yeah. I mean, again, I feel like the application is a lot more limited than it's being made out to be, which I mean, probably apparent by the fact that these companies aren't exactly out here kicking ass. I mean, if somebody gave me $40 million, I could open up a shitload of successful sites, and I don't see how these companies can't make that happen. It kind
But you
of
think
blows
you
my
can
mind.
manage them? You think you could manage them all? Like,
No, I could build a team that could. You
mm,
know what I'm saying? I could build a company that could get that
yeah.
done and execute on that. I mean, again,
Mm.
maybe I'm overestimating, but it seems wild to see these valuations thrown around and then
These
turn around
valuations
and
crazy.
turn around and then everybody's getting laid off and interesting. I mean, to sort of keep, yeah, I was wanted to point out that from Nelson. I mean, what, I mean, in your opinion, what is this like? Is this good or bad? I can't imagine you think it's good for the
I mean, I
site
think it's good
landscape.
for the site owners who sell. They cash out. They want to cash out. That's fine. I think for people like you and I, it's good because as long as we continue to be operators. See, I don't think that like, I could have Yuma Clinical Trials be successful. I can have my former site in San Bernardino be successful because I've already built it, so now it runs without me. But I don't think I can do Yuma Clinical Trials and Tampa Clinical Research and Missouri Clinical Trial and Little Rock all at the same time. And even if I build a team, I think, and maybe that's just because I'm not a capable manager, maybe I think I'm good at spotting talent and probably cultivating talent, but operating at scale is very tough. And when companies like this do this, they rely on technology to do it. And I don't think you're getting a Brad Hightower running all those 170 sites. Like, their Brad Hightower is cashing out. I know a lot of these owners who sold, and they're like, yeah, I got to stay for 3 years, but, they're just kicking back. They're kicking back, guys. They're watching, like, videos on YouTube about music. They're chilling. They're planning their next vacation. They're working hard on planning their next vacation like they used to work on getting new studies. So these new owners that come in, they're going to hire people like project managers. And probably this project manager come from a CRO. And that's a different business environment because
Right.
you've got, like, at CROs, they're publicly traded, you've got public funds. Here, you've got venture capital, private equity funds. Those guys are going to want to see returns. And when you're not, you can't come in and run a small site the way you run IQVIA. Even if it's a network of small sites, each one has to be managed independently. So I think, like, for people like us, it's a good thing. Number one, we're going to stand out. Number two, it shows us what our valuations are should we ever want to sell. And I think that private equity is going to take a second look at this stuff. Like, that's my opinion. I don't think, like, Brad Hightower, like, you would go to any of those 170 sites and that site would be successful. I think somebody else, even if you hire them, I think they would do like 80% as good as you. And maybe that's good enough. But these PE people, they bring in PMs. All they care about is their salary and to play it safe.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. I wonder, and I mean, I struggle with this concept even myself. Is like, how is this tough to scale and to maintain, some semblance of, running the business the way you want it to run and not be, because I mean, I have to imagine to your point too. I mean, private equity, what do they care about? They care about return on their investment. I mean, they don't give a shit if, you're
Hmm.
doing things this way, that way, or the other. Whichever one gives them the most bang for their buck is the one that they want. And, I'm going to make a post about this, but uh, my son was in the Moderna trial. He's 2, and we didn't run it. There was another competing site that runs it. And they're owned by uh, private equity, from my understanding. It was the worst experience I've ever had in my entire life. And of course, I'm probably more judgmental because I, operate research sites, but I was there for 3.5 hours and you saw 6 different people. It was just completely insane. And I mean, that's the kind of thing I imagine when I think about these, again, these big,
Wow.
big acquisitions and big mergers. I mean, I wonder how that
I
experience
didn't
is
know
getting
that.
like watered down.
We gotta get into that. So first of all, I didn't know you had a son. Amazing. One kid, or you have more?
I have a 9-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so you volunteered your son for the Moderna vaccine trial,
Yeah.
and well, your experience was like, what made it bad? Like, what part of it like was bad?
I mean, I think there was a real like lack of consistency in who you're even like dealing with. So there it was, you walk in, first of all, the like, this is just such interesting. And I think it was so informative for me to like walk into a lobby that's like chaos of people, 25 minutes late to get, our screening visit. Like we got there early, but we're called back like 25 minutes late.
Hmm.
Whatever. I know shit happens, but that's something we're like super sensitive about, in
Yeah.
our company.
Hmm.
You sit with the coordinator in their office and then you get shoved into another room and then somebody different comes by to get vitals. Somebody different comes by to get blood. The doctor comes in for a few minutes. He leaves. Yet another person comes by to administer the shot. We got shuffled off to a room to wait for the observation period. It was so funny because the room was like their like storage area where there's like e-diaries like stacked up in the corner, and I'm like, what this is like where like, a small child has to like wait, to be observed for any interactions he's having. Yeah, I mean, again, all that process is 3.5 hours long.
Hmm.
There's more, and again, I'm gonna write a long post about it. I don't
No
want to
lunch,
necessarily.
no entertainment for you or the kids, like nothing, or
No, 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 no. Yeah, no. Was a empty room aside from like storage for some of their supplies, which again I thought was a very strange choice. I wanted to walk off with a bunch of their e-diaries just to mess with them, but
and this was in Oklahoma City, or where you
yeah,
traveled for this?
no, I was in Oklahoma City.
Yeah. See that? Okay, that is like brings it down to like a granular level. Like all this talk about tech and let's put in systems. Here's Felucio, and Felucio's got a good question for you. But he says it's a matter of having systems in place. I would say there comes a point where having a system is counterproductive to the patient experience. And here's my
Oh,
system right
not
now.
sorry.
It's
Go ahead.
me. It's me and two coordinator. That's my system. If there's a patient, they don't wait more than like 5 seconds in the waiting room. They come in. If they're hungry, we ask them. We go buy them food. We go buy them coffee, whatever they need. We make sure that they're there. If they say they want to quit, we say, well, why? Why is that? Can we work it out? Can you stay a little longer? Systems don't do that. Systems reward people for following the system.
Well,
Anyways.
and I think, and again, this is why I think it's challenging to scale, is because, I mean, you're working within a certain clinic, and if you go work with the clinic down the street, your interaction with that clinic may be totally different. They may have different expectations of you coming in as a vendor, and I find that every clinic we work with, it's a different relationship. Some of them, want us to work and schedule with their, through their scheduling staff. Some of them want to keep us off of their calendar. Some of them want us to use this exam room. Some of them don't care which ones we use. So it makes it very challenging to make, a overarching system, because I think clinics all run so differently. And frankly, look, participating in clinical research, if you're, especially a private practice physician, it sucks. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of bullshit to deal with. The only way I think that we're going to get more physicians involved is by making it easy for them. And, I assume that your mission isn't unlike mine. Like I want it to be seamless for them as much as possible. Now we know that's not always the case, but I mean, if we want these guys to participate, it's got to be simple. I mean, as simple as it
Yeah.
can be. And again, that's different for each physician. I mean, and also that point, some physicians want to be more involved. They do want, to have a more of a hand in the patient visit, or even, you know,
Wow.
knowing more about the science or talking to the sponsor. Some of them want more of that. So you've got to be sensitive to that. So it makes it tough, again, to say, like, well, this is the way we do things. Well, yeah, but that may not work over here. So you can't.
Yeah. Brad, you're no nonsense, man. No wonder people follow you on LinkedIn and comment like crazy. If you start like playing your guitar, it's over, man. But anyways, so you just brought up a good point. All right, I've learned this myself the hard way. It didn't take me long to learn it though. Like within a year of running my site back in '05, '06, '07, I was like, look, because I was doing an MBA program at the time too. So I was like, all right, let's figure out business plan. Let me figure out like what this actually is. Who are our stakeholders? I had to think about it. I'm like, okay, obviously patients. Okay. Who pays us? Okay, sponsors, CROs. Okay, too. But there's something missing. And it's the clinicians. They're our third customer. At least I consider them a customer because usually they were partners of mine. I think that third stakeholder, the clinicians, at the AMCs, I don't want to drop these two fingers, then I'll flip you off. But at the AMC and at the large hospital system, they only have two customers. They have sponsor and patients. The doctors, the clinicians, they're just employees. They do what they're told. That's it. I think that element right there is missing at these larger places. Even at these PE places. Guess who half of those guys or gals that they bought it from, or maybe 25% of those sites that they bought, were clinician owned. Do you think a clinician's going to behave differently as an owner as opposed to an employee? What tech is going to fix that? What AI is going to fix that?
Yeah, no. Yeah, again, I think there's well, look, again, we can go deep with the DCT thing because, I mean, ultimately, I think we're trying to solve a problem, or you're creating a solution for a problem that's like way further upstream, and that's that inclusion exclusion criteria are garbage. I think if it was opened up, we wouldn't need to, try to reach the ends of the earth to find patients. Like, does it not blow your mind? Like, I work with a migraine specialist. He has headache patients all day long. I should be able to enroll patients in a migraine trial, but I can't because of ridiculously stringent criteria. I mean, now instead you want to say, well, let's advertise to everybody everywhere. Well, I mean, we could have, if your criteria were more reflective of what the actual patient populations look like, I mean, we would be done with this in, no time at all. So I don't know. It seems like we're trying to solve the wrong problems in some ways.
Yeah, I think they saved that for like the phase 4, but the problem with that is if they were easy, then I don't think they would necessarily need sites like yours and mine. Maybe the Oklahoma University can do it at that point.
Yeah,
I think it's the fact that we have to go hustle to find our patients, which is what these big AMCs and hospital systems won't do because it's their lunch break. And on my lunch break, if I'm not enrolling, I'm not getting paid. I'm not eating, literally not eating. So I'm going to go out and find patients on my lunch break.
Yeah, I had this conversation with a sponsor who, we were the leading enroller and they were working with a bunch of academic sites. And, I had that same observation. I was like, look, all they want to do is not lose their job. And honestly, the best way to not lose your job is to not enroll any patients, because then you're not going to make any mistakes. You're not going to have any major protocol deviations. And probably research is subsidized by the department anyway. So they don't really have any incentive to be, revenue generator. They just want to stay under the radar and tick the boxes. And you're right. I mean, I've been in
screen one. Screen one when the sponsor complains. All right, we got one. We know they're gonna fail, but we got, so you can see activity.
Exactly. Yeah. Just look like you're working. Be at your desk from 8 to 5 and look like you're working.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. Okay, let's go through some of these comments. That's a wild study visit. I worked on multiple of the Moderna trials at 2 different sites. So with your experience, Brad, would you or anyone in your family do a trial again?
I mean, yes, and again, probably just because I know that's not necessarily, I mean, hopefully that's not indicative of how a normal study participation works. Now, if I were not, if I had no concept of clinical research and this was my first experience, I'd probably be like, no, this sucked. It was terrible. There's even more to the story that made it more, uh, even more of a just cluster. But
Let's
no,
go.
I
Let's
mean,
go.
if
What's
well, so he was placebo. He was on the placebo arm. It was after they went ahead and approved it for his child or for his age group. So, we called him up, say, hey, okay, he's placebo. Can we like get a real shot now, or what? How do we, unblind us? Tell us what to do. So they were like, fine. They brought him in and gave him a shot. There was a lot of confusion though when we got there as to whether or not he did have placebo, which of course made me be like, oh Jesus Christ, what? I mean, okay,
wow?
let me see your IV, like, whatever. But, then he gets the shot, they get the card. The card has the wrong, like, information. It's got the wrong date on it. So we're like, okay, is this the right
Oh my
thing?
God.
What is going on? Yeah. So it was just, again, it was, didn't exactly breed confidence in the clinical trial process. So, yeah, if I were somebody who didn't know any better, I
I
might
would have
just
been
be
pissed,
like,
Brad.
yeah, can probably not go through that process again.
I would have called the FDA so fast, Brad. All right, you're a better man than I. All right. Um, hey, Skylar just finished CRC Academy. Yes, I know. We're going to work hard to get her a job ASAP. All right, this one's important for you, Brad, because I know when we go live on your stream, I won't have a chance to ask you this. If a private equity comes in to buy you out, Brad, would you accept it?
Probably not, at least not at this point. I've had
Wow.
some people offer. I don't know that I've sort of like built enough value to be worth selling for me at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I also, and to go back to our conversation, like I don't own anything, right? So what I'm selling is my relationship that I have with the physicians and clinics that I work in. So I always find this concept weird because, I mean, if you buy Hightower Clinical and I say, peace, and the doctor meets you and says, oh, this guy's an asshole, I don't want to work with him.
Yeah.
Then what have you bought?
Yeah, it's over at that point. If that doctor says, hey, Brad used to play guitar for me on lunchtime, and this guy's a
Right.
absolute douche. Okay, so yeah.
Anyways, no, probably not. At least not for a while, unless somebody just. If anybody out there is listening and they want to make me an insane offer, then let's.
Yeah,
talk.
I'm listening. I'm listening.
But otherwise, probably not. No.
I'm listening. They'd have to offer me like what I think Yuma Clinical Trials potential is worth, and the marketplace for that's gone. Potential is gone. It's what you've done for me lately, like Janet Jackson. Okay,
Right.
That's why there are guys like you, Dan, that take the burden of running the trial. Exactly right. Christopher, what up? My only Facebook viewer, thank you. But the criteria is much complex because the sponsor's looking for certain things. Sponsors getting greedy. You can't blame them though, because these trials are costing more and more, and they're just trying to get more data. I saw your conversation with Darshan about who owns data. I watched a little bit of that. That was a good one. Nobody knows the answer is the Cliff Notes version of that.
To Christopher's point, I think
Yeah.
what we're seeing is like just a ton of cherry picking. I feel like you're picking the patients that it's most likely to get the effect that you want from. But then when drug gets marketed, it seems like it gets prescribed a lot more widely, right?
Yeah.
Which feels really gross to me. I mean, an easy example is like the BMI. My migraine trial with a BMI exclusion after BMI 30.
Yeah.
This drug goes to market. Are they not going to give it to anyone with BMI over 30? No,
Right.
of course not. They're going to.
But you
give
can't
it to
blame them,
everybody.
though. You can't blame them because the FDA says this is what we need to get you approval quick. If you want to do all that, okay, well, dude, that's what phase 4. Like, I got empathy for the sponsors, but yeah, I know. It's a pain in the ass, but I think that pain in the ass is what keeps people like me and you employed.
That's fair.
Former site director leads CRC at one of those sites with high enrolling trials, making it as simple as possible for the sub is imperative. Dan, do you have a person dedicated to recruitment? Not yet. At my site, no. We just hired a very part-time social media guy, but No, right now it's me and the two girls, and we're gonna get into it on Brad's live stream in a little bit. Nelson always writes like Kindle. Nelson, I feel like I should pay 99 cents for reading this. I think there are other industries this has already happened. IVF is done mostly through PE-owned facilities with full-time employed reproductive. I didn't know that. Lots of parallels to clinical trial. At minimum, PE-owned research sites will have an incredibly short timeline for startup. Yes, but I think the difference is patients who are going to like IVF, they know what they're getting into. Like they're willing to pay for it. So in clinical research, you don't. You're kind of like just betting that this site is going to take care of you, and you don't really know what's happening. Like I think that's the difference. Like people know IVF, they do their homework on IVF. People don't do their homework on research sites. Like there's no Yelp for there probably is, but like they don't go look like do due diligence. Usually it's somebody like Brad or me or one of my coordinators that gets them from the database and tells them like, hey, and that's how they join. They don't oftentimes don't have any clue what they're getting into. I think it's different. Before you switch to Brad's channel, will you put a link in the comments? Yeah, Maximus. I know who you are, Maximus. Just go on Brad's LinkedIn. Nelson, good point. All right, let's go. I know we got to do like 6 minutes. Totally agree with your point, Brad, says Christopher, about when the drug hits the market. Many PIs ask me about that when I'm on site. Ross, the man who wrote the book on Facebook recruitment, it looks like certainly in Europe we're heading towards a situation where patient involvement in a trial design will be mandated. Oh, man. I don't want to. This is another hour-long thing. Wouldn't it be good and deliver better outcomes all around if site involvement at an early stage were also mandated?
Yes.
Yeah, but we can go on for a while about those patient advocates. Oftentimes they're paid. They're not representative of their peers.
Yeah, I admittedly don't know a lot about that world, but I've wondered because there seem like there are a couple, or at least maybe a handful of sort of prevalent patient advocates and people who work. And I don't know. Again, I'm curious to know if that is representative, like you say, and because isn't there like a weird chicken or the egg thing? Like if you ask a patient who hasn't been in a clinical trial, they're not going to have any idea what they want because they don't have any frame of reference. But if you get people, the same people who have been in a clinical trial, are you going to get, I don't know. It seems like a weird sort of conundrum there.
I went to a big conference. It smells fishy, right? Let's just put it that way. I went to a big conference, and I went to a breakout session, and one of the strategies on virtual trials, I brought it up in the breakout session, like, yeah, but that clinician-patient relationship, you can't replace that. And they said, oh, but what if you could? With the growing increase of influencers across all therapeutic indications, you have an influencer, you have a Brad Hightower for like any disease, Brad. Like we don't know them because we're not into that space, but they're basically there. So if you line these influencers up, and not all of them, probably all of them do it for good intentions, but once pharma gets to them, it's hard to say no when they start throwing money at them, right? Like it's hard for them, and so far it hasn't been done properly. Like it's just the beginning stage. It's like, oh, let's invite you to speak at this conference. I don't know if it's paid or not. I don't know details. Let's invite you to work on this protocol. Now, what they really want is, can you be influential and help us recruit patients? And who knows? Maybe it's going to work. Maybe it's not. But it's not as simple as just like, okay, like let's get patients to help write protocols. Like most patients don't want to do that. They just want better treatments, better outcomes, better alternative. They don't want to write a protocol.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Again, it does seem more complicated. And I have to imagine a more vocal patient advocates probably very conveniently are going to be pro DCT. Versus I know if I ask somebody from my clinic and say, hey, I'm going to send somebody out to your house, they're going to say, no, you're not. You're not going to do that. We got a lot of rural population, and they're don't like people, coming onto their property. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just think that's an interesting,
Oh, they go in the wrong place in Oklahoma. They're gonna get that's gonna be bad outcomes for
get in
that
trouble.
vendor. I'll tell you that. All right, so 2 more minutes before we switch to yours, Brad. I'm gonna do a quick outfit change and go inside my studio. But anything else you want to say to the people out there? We can do this for like 3 hours, Brad.
It's true. It's true. No, I mean, again, come on over to my stream, check it out on LinkedIn, and I love the little crossover. I think this is a fun idea here.
Yeah, I'm like creating content all day. So, all right, guys, like, subscribe, comment, share. Go find Brad. If you're watching this later, you're missing out on the live, but go find Brad. He's always posting things on LinkedIn about who's your biggest audience. It's got to be sites, right?
I think it's nice. I think I'm seeing a little bit more interaction from the sponsor and CRO side, but yeah, there's certainly a lot of sites who are engaging.
All right, Brad. It's going to be interesting to follow your career and for everyone else as well. So thank you guys. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Catch y'all later. Go follow Brad right now on LinkedIn because we're going to go live on his platform right now. Take care.
All right, see you guys.